Previously, we learned about univariate data, where it was data that only observed one variable. So whether that was like the scores that a group of students received, or the height of a group of students, or any data that only looked at one thing at a time. Today, we're looking at bivariate data, which is data that looks at two variables instead, two related variables. So in the problem that we're going to be looking at in our mini lesson, for example, we're going to be looking at the console that students prefer based on their gender. So the two variables we'd be looking at would be gender and the gaming console. And we use what we call a two-way table, something that looks like this, to summarize data that is bivariate, meaning data that has two variables that is measuring or observing two different things, hence why it's called a two-way table. Now, on a two-way table, where we're looking at two related variables, the rows, which goes from left to right, indicate one variable, and the columns, which go up and down, represent another. Okay, so in this example that we're going to be looking at here, we have the gender in the rows, and we have the console on the columns. So let's see what we have in this problem. It says a class of 26 students was surveyed about the type of gaming console they prefer. Some of the information is summarized below. Now, as you can see, the table is not completely filled out, so it's going to be our job to use the information that is given to us in this two-way table to fill out the rest of it. So that's the first thing that we're going to do. But first, we got to know what these numbers mean and what they represent. I'm going to start with the row and the column that is here in gray. These rows and these columns, the totals, okay, represent some sort of total. Okay, it represents the total number of whatever it is that we're looking at, whether it's on the row or in the column. So for example, this 26 here, this corner total always represents the total number of data points that were collected. So in any survey that you take or in anything that you're observing, this is always going to be the total number of observations that you make. So for example, here we surveyed 26 students, so that total of 26 students is always going to go there. Okay? Now, when we're looking at these totals over here, this one and this one, okay, these are the totals. This is the total of everything to the left, meaning this is going to add up everything that comes before that 12 to the left, and this is going to add up everything that comes before it as well to the left hand side. And this is what that would look like. So this 12, for example, this 12 here would represent the total number of females that were surveyed, because it would add up the ones that preferred Xbox, it would add up the ones that preferred a PlayStation, and it would also add up the ones that preferred any other gaming console. Okay, now if we're looking at this total over here, which we don't know what it is, this would be the total number of males that were surveyed. Okay, because it would add up the males, everything that comes to the left hand side of it, meaning the number of males that liked Xbox, the number of males that liked PlayStation, and the number of males that liked any other or preferred any other gaming console. And we're going to find out what that total is in just a bit. Okay, now when we're looking at the totals down here, these totals over here, we are going to add up everything that comes before it, everything that comes above it. Okay, so this 5, for example, represents the total number of students that preferred Xbox. Okay, so it will add up this plus this to give me 5. Okay, that means that this 18 represents the total number of students who preferred PlayStation. Okay, so it would add up whatever this is, which we don't know, plus whatever this is, will give me 18. Okay, and this here would represent the total number of students who preferred anything other than Xbox or PlayStation. So whatever, it would add up this 2 plus whatever that we have here will give me whatever total we're going to have here, which again we're going to find out in just a bit. Okay, so when you are finding the rest of the information that we do not have here, okay, and you're trying to figure out what goes in one of these boxes, okay, you need to start where there's only one piece of information that we need to determine. I'm going to erase all of this that I have here so that I can make it more clear what I mean by that. So what I mean by that is that, for example, I can't figure out how many females prefer PlayStation or how many males prefer PlayStation by using this 18, because I need at least one of these two things to figure out the other. I'm missing 2 pieces of information there, so I can't figure that out. Okay, I also can't figure out any of these these 2 things over here, because again, using the 2, because I need to know what either one of these 2 information is. However, I can tell that I can figure out what this is because in this column I already have 2 pieces of information that I can use. I'm only missing one of them. So I can use this 12 and this 26 to figure out what this total is over here. I know that there are 26 students in total. Okay, so however many females I have plus however many males I have has to give me a total of 26. So if I know that there are 12 females, okay, I don't know how many males there are, but I know they have to add up to 26. So that means that here I would do 26 minus 12 to give me 14. So that means that 14 male students were surveyed in total. Okay, now I'm going to look to see, okay, where do I have only one piece of information left so that I can use the other 2 to find that one. So if I look over here in this column, I see that I have a 3 and a 5, which means I can use those 2 pieces of information to figure out what this is over here. Okay, so I know that 5 people liked Xbox in total because I'm looking at Xbox and the total for Xbox is 5. So that means that if 5 people liked Xbox in total and 3 of them are female, right, because 3 female students liked Xbox, then that means that in order to find how many of them were male, I would do 5 minus 3, which would give me a total of 2 students. Okay, so that means that 2 male students like the Xbox. Now, where can I look in order to figure out another piece of information? So again, I'm looking to see where is there only one thing missing so that I can use the rest of my table to figure out the information that I need. Well, here I see that I only have one thing missing as well. So I can use this, this, and this to figure out the rest of it. I know that there are 26 people that were surveyed in total. 5 of them, this includes the number of people who prefer Xbox. It also includes the number of people who prefer PlayStation and the number of people who preferred anything other than that. So I know that 5 plus 18 plus whatever this is has to give me a total of 26. Well, if I do 5 plus 18, that's going to give me 23. This is 23. So I'm going to do 26 minus 23 here to give me a total of 3 students. So 3 students in total preferred console other than Xbox or PlayStation. So now that I have this and I also have this, I can figure out what this is over here. Okay, if 3 students in total prefer a console other than Xbox or PlayStation, and 2 of them were female, that means that 1 of them had to be a male, right? Out of the 3 minus 2 to give me 1. Okay, so now all I have to figure out is these 2 things over here. So I have 12 females that were surveyed in total. 2 of them preferred another. 3 of them preferred Xbox. So again, 3 for the Xbox plus 2 for the other plus however many of them preferred PlayStation had to give me a total of 12 female students. Well, this gives me 5, so I would do 12 minus 5 to give me 7. So a total of 7 female students preferred PlayStation. Okay, and then last but not least, to fill out this one here, I have a bunch of other different information that I can use. I'm just gonna use this 18 and the 7 to figure out how many male students preferred PlayStation. So I know that 18 students prefer PlayStation in total, right? Because if I look at PlayStation and I go all the way down, it gives me a total of 18. And I know 7 of them were female, because if I look to my left, this is female who prefer PlayStation. So here I would do 18 minus 7 to give me 11 male students who prefer PlayStation in total. So now, if I look at my table, I can double check that I've filled it out correctly by checking that everything adds up to each other. So if I do 3 plus 7 plus 2, does that give me 12? Because all of this, and this has to add up to 12. And in fact, it does. So that worked. So now I'm going to check, does 2 plus 11 plus 1 add up to 14? And it does. And 12 plus 14 add up to 26. I can also look in the columns. I see that 3 plus 2 does add up to 5, right? These 2 things add up to 5. If I do 7 plus 11, that adds up to 18, so I did that correctly. And if I add up 2 and 1, that also adds up to 3, so I did that correctly as well. And I know that 5 plus 18 plus 3 also adds up to 26. That's a way that you can use to check that you've done this table correctly. I can also ask you questions about the table if I give you a table that's already filled out, or questions based on the table after you filled it out. So for example, it says, how many of the students surveyed were males? So I'm only looking at one thing. I'm only looking at males. So that means I'm going to wherever I see males, and I'm going to find the total all the way to the right of that. And that means that 14 students were males. Now it says, see, how many female students prefer PlayStation? So now I'm looking at 2 things. I'm looking at females and I'm looking at PlayStation. So that means that I want to look at female and I want to look at PlayStation. So if I follow those 2 things, you can follow it with your fingers if you want. I'm going to end up in this rectangle right here, this part of my table, which means that 7 female students preferred PlayStation.